This is the hardest free sample pack we have ever dropped. Guys, I am extremely excited for our new project, Slayer. We have one of the most insane beta packs we have ever dropped. It's over 4.5 gigs of absolute heat. And today in this video, I'm gonna be showing you some of my favorite parts inside of it and also what our thought process has been about this project, because it's pretty radically different than a lot of other stuff we do. Usually we kind of study like what's popping off in the music industry and kind of seeing what's working and what the people at the top are doing. But for this project, we kind of looked to the underground. We wanted to look at bedroom producers who are popping off, people who have absolutely killer tracks on SoundCloud but barely have any plays, and we want to actually work with those artists to bring a more underground sound to your production. And not to mention with Slayer, we decided to venture out into a lot of stuff we normally haven't done before, like cinematic samples. And that's fucking crazy, right? That sounds like, you know, main bad guy just killed somebody in a movie. Let me play another one of these. In total, there's actually 13 different genres. There's other genres we brought back, like dark funk. One of the things I like about it is the dark energy could be used whether you're trying to do something more higher energy, electronic EDM-ish, or you can take that and make some hard-ass beats, because that's what I've been doing. And I really love the vintage section. We really nailed the record store type vibe, but one cool little twist on it, we decided to add a little bit of more of that underground, like Trappin' in Japan, Tokyo mix type of mix you would hear on YouTube or something. But just look how rich these layers are. I'm gonna show you some of the layers we have, because every single melody comes with stems and MIDI, and everything is BPM and key labeled, so you can really do a lot. Each melody loop has 1,000 different directions you can go with it. So you could isolate like just the piano. You could build something just off that. Or let's say you wanted to mess around with the bass and the guitar lead and the flute. That's already a vibe right there, right? Just by selecting different stem layers, you're able to take each sample, I swear, in thousands of different directions. This can come really in handy as well for studio sessions, because some of the melody loops might have a lot of ideas on there and they might be, let's say, slightly busy for like a singer or something. What you can do is you can go into the stem layers and kind of dial in exactly on the right type of mix you need for the song you're trying to make. One really sick thing about this production suite is that the drums were designed to not only give you a bunch of hard-hitting samples, kicks, snares that really can punch through a mix, it's about flavor these days, right? Like a lot of times it's not just about having the hardest hitting snare. The characteristics and the life of that snare means a lot more to your track sometimes than punching through. And what we wanted to do was really get the best of both worlds. I'm gonna add a couple more drums to this. So the percussion loops in this pack are also really great to give your beat a different kind of texture and sometimes like off rhythm personality. The hi-hat loops are great for fast workflow. Another thing I really like is these weird Foley sounds, and that's why we included a whole folder of them, because a lot of people use normal sounds. So when you add something strange that somebody feels like they would hear, like this knock sound or something else like a paperclip, right? These little weird things, and you add them into your beats, it just gives it like a certain familiarity that can add something interesting. So I'll drag a couple in. A lot of times this shit's supposed to be quiet too. And listen to it, it's literally just some random ass Foley. But then together, things I really like about this pack is actually the vocal section. We have a bunch of really cool vocal loops that could be used as like almost Fred again like vocals, or if you're trying to do something like a background Drake type vocal.
I know you need space. Need space. Not too long. Oh.
Also, that's the kind of shit that's popping off on TikTok. Sometimes it's like that Kanye pitched up style. Sometimes it's pitched down, but I think a lot of listeners can just relate to it so much more because the human ear just loves the human voice. So yeah, adding these little things in your beats can just add, you know, interesting textures. So there's more than 50 melodies in this thing. And honestly, there's a lot of cool stuff. I'll show a few more, like the R&B collection. And we have a bunch of new EDM genres because our sound design team has been growing and the stuff they've been making is fucking crazy. Listen to this. This pack is really going to push into a lot of different directions that you're not normally used to working with. That's one of the exciting parts about it. And this free beta alone has over 50 melodies. So you get a lot of cool stuff to work with. Next, I want to talk about two other sections of this beta pack that you're going to have a lot of fun with. One is the one-shots. We actually recorded almost all of these off of analog gear and then did a lot of cool processing and stuff to create a really sick instrument collection. There's a lot of amazing stuff in here. Not to mention, one of the engineers over at Tree Sound Studio had actually got some of their equipment and some of their processing racks and sent a bunch of these over. So we've been kind of messing around with them and they sound incredible, especially if you pair them with the MIDI. So you can take stuff like a little bell sound from this collection. That sounds cool on its own, but if you just combine it with some of the MIDI, you can get something cool like this. That's the thing I love about a lot of these one-shots. They're not perfect. Sometimes you hear a little noise that comes from the actual hardware. Sometimes like there's a little bit of the one-shot that actually drifts out of key. You know, it's not in perfect C, but a lot of those imperfections when you take something like a sound like this and then you spread it across the keyboard. When you spread those imperfections across the keyboard and play melodies with it, you don't even have to do crazy sound design because a lot of the sound design is just baked into the imperfections of the one-shot sample. And there's a lot of great stuff. You can make an extra 1,000 melodies alone just by using the one-shots folder as well as the MIDI folder in this pack. And if I open up the accents, phrases, and FX collection, just look how big it is. And this is only a small preview compared to the full version, but you have accents and phrases. Impacts, reverse effects, these really cool sub drops. I mean, honestly, there is a lot of stuff in here to mess around with. And the last thing I want to touch on is actually the drum loops. Cymatics drum loops have become more and more overpowered because if you guys look at loop stems, the amount of stuff you can do with the drum loop is fucking insane. So right there, that kick had a very interesting pocket it was hitting, right? So with that being said, if I wanted to go grab just that kick and bring it into something else, all I have to do is go there and grab the kick layer because we have stems for every single drum loop. This is what makes it so powerful because if you're diving into, let's say, some of our Latin inspired stuff or our EDM stuff or the R&B stuff, you can start to mix and match layers and kind of fuse genres together and get cool stuff. I think this is really powerful because with stem layers, drum loops become a very creative resource to see how you can mix, match, and process different drum layers to make cool, interesting grooves. Last but not least, the basses, okay? First off, it has some really sick 808s. We always put a lot of time into it. Let me play a few. I've been having a lot of fun with these, but the respaces in this beta pack are fucking some of the most crazy textured respaces we've ever made. Just listen to that. When it it comes to a respace, you can get, it's simple, but you can get so much tonality out of it and so much character out of each one. They can be actually dramatically different. Anyways, this is a little preview into the hardest beta pack we have ever dropped. It has over 4.5 gigs of samples, and this is a sick preview into one of our craziest sample packs we're ever going to release, which is Slayer. And another little announcement here, we actually have a secret plugin we've been working on called Shockwave, which is an insane 808 and bass plugin that's going to have almost Cymatics' entire bass catalog, 808 samples, and all of that stuff that we've ever released actually put in as source sounds. And then from those source sounds, we're going to be creating some sick presets. We essentially took all of our sound designers' best techniques when it comes to processing bass and 808s and how we make all of our samples and put it into a bass plugin. So you can design really cool samples, you can play around with stuff, and not to mention you're going to have some sick basses from Reese basses. You'll be able to do some cool stuff in EDM as well as some nasty 808s. Make sure you guys download this free beta. It's not going to be up forever, and if you want to get the full version of Slayer, just keep in mind Duality sold out in 24 hours, and Slayer already has more hype than Duality, so make sure you get on that waiting list. That'll give you a 1-hour head start before it releases to the public, because we're only releasing 1,500 licenses for the full version. So if you want to get in on that and get a lot of sick samples, make sure you get on that wait list. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this beta, and peace out.